Good day, students. This is again your instructor for Understanding the Self, Kenneth Alvin Cinco. For this session, we will be tackling a topic that I'm sure many of us will relate, especially that nowadays Shopee and ordering from online shops are very much rampant in our society. So, without further ado, this is lesson 2.3, the material self. So this lesson, again, I would like to remind everybody, recognizes the use of discussions from the following books. We have Understanding the Self written by Corpus Brenda et al. We also have Understanding the Self written by Ancheta. We also have Understanding the Self written by Alata et al. So I took my discussions from these books, but of course, I am now delivering it to you. Now, for the benefit of everybody's information, these are the citations that I made. No, so when I'm discussing in the PowerPoint, you can look at the bottom center and you will see their codes. These codes are the citations that I took, okay, from the books. No, if um, if the citation in the slide is from Understanding the Self by Corpus, uh, you will see C2020 at the bottom center. If otherwise it is Understanding the Self written by Ancheta, you will see A2019 at the bottom center, and for Alata et al, you will see A2018. And I made it because it's for the benefit of brevity, so that I know for the slides it's not that wide, so I made use of codes. This is for respect for the writers, and we know that these slides are for educational purposes naman. And I would like to add that all the images that I used in this these slides are from pixels. Otherwise, I put the image source under the image. And also, I've used Flaticon for these slides. Now, we regard our possessions as part of ourselves. We are what we have and what we possess. Do you know what's the meaning of that? You can pause this video and also ponder upon the meaning of this quote that Russell Beck gave us. No? When we say possessions, sometimes these aren't just things. They become part of ourselves and they become invaluable, no, to our personalities. When we talk about the material self, no, Socrates also shared his thoughts regarding things and persons. So he said he is richest who is content with the least. For content or contentment is the wealth of nature. So much deeper quote from the father of philosophy from the ancient Greeks. Okay, now for this lesson, I know that, well, we all know that we are living in a world of sale and shopping spree, as what I have indicated a while ago. There is a wide variety of products to purchase. You know that already. I know some of you, no, I know many of you are having fun, no, ordering from online shops. Product advertisements are suggestive. You know why they are addictive? Sometimes you can't uh, go outside your way just to resist, no? Because they are suggestive. These products are suggestive, especially the advertisements that the products do of making us feel better or looking good, no? Nobody sells products which won't make you look good. And it also makes us want to have that product. So advertisements become very potent weapons of the marketing or of the salespersons, no, to target our weaknesses in being attracted to products. what makes us want to have that product is connected to who we are. No, sometimes there are people who are easily swayed by our advertisements. Sometimes there are people who won't be easily swayed by our advertisements. This speaks a lot about our personalities. So what we want to possess are related to ourselves. So because we're talking about the material self, after the discussion, we'll try to explain, or you would have explained the concepts related to the material self. You have elaborated how material possessions influence the self. You have discussed the role of consumer culture to identity and the self. You should have elucidated the concept of materialism and have appraised oneself based on the concept of material self. So these will be our outcomes for this session. Now, before we start, did you ever feel the urge to buy a thing despite your budget? Why or why not? What did that thing have that really took you? No? What did that thing have that really got your attention, that really spoke to your innermost personality? No? How do you describe your attachment to your most favorite things? How do you describe your attachment? No, this is something that this is a very relevant question. Why? Because we don't know unconsciously we are already attached to things. No, sometimes it's conscious, but most of the time unconsciously we're attached to things. And if these things get lost, we feel that a big chunk of ourselves, if not at the center of ourselves, no, have been lost also. So how does the things you have relate to yourself? So you can pause the video and ponder about it. How does the things that you have relate to yourself? No, uh, you should be aware. No, how does these things relate to yourself? And it will speak so much about yourself. Okay, now we start with the psychology of the material self. What is behind, no, our minds that makes us attached to things? This is the main question that the psychology of the material self will be answering. Again, what is inside our mind that makes us attached to things? So for William James, well, we have encountered already William James from the previous lessons. From his book, The Principles of Psychology, he said that there are three components of the self which can be examined. Actually, we have already talked about the components of the self. We have the I and me, but then in under the me, there's also three components. One, you have the material self. Second, you also have the social self and the spiritual self and the pure ego. This is the constituents, or what the parts that makes of the me, the self that is the me, no? The second is the feelings and emotions that they arouse, no? What are the feelings and emotions that these things allows, no? And the third is the actions to which they prompt, no? What are the actions that they lead for you to do, no? It's self-seeking and self-preservation. These are the motivations why we attach, no, our feelings, no. Naturally, we are self-seeking. We seek ourselves and we try to preserve ourselves. That's why part of our materiality, this is part of preserving what we have. Okay, again, we're still on the psychology of material self. The material self, again, is composed of these things. Because we invest, no, on these things, they become part of ourselves and they are called materials. We invest. What do we mean by invest? We provide time, we provide resources in order for these things to be maintained or acquired, no? Like for example, at the centermost of the material self, William James suggests that it is the body. This is the most immediate material self that we have, according to William James. Why? It is in our possession also, no? The second one is the clothes. The clothes, clothe our body, protect us from the cold. The clothes protect us from shamefulness, no? And the third one would be the immediate family. Sir, they are not things. Families are persons. For William James, it is why we say that something is lost on us when we lose a certain someone. It's the evidence that our family is considered to be a part of our material self. When we say we lose, I lost someone, it seems that a part of me was lost. So they're not just people outside, but they're also considered things that you possess. Okay. And of course, your home. These four are the foremost ingredients, no, of the material self, no, according to James. Now, um, we put investment in them. For the body, we make sure it functions. That's how we put investment in these goods, no? We attach to certain parts. Sometimes you you take care of your face because it becomes the your living, your livelihood, no, for those who are YouTube streamers, no, for singers it's their voice, for for teachers and those who are in the academy, it's the brain and the eyes. So we invest so much in that, so it becomes, it has now value, no, its material value now increases. Clothes, the style of clothes can bring sensations that affect our behavior, no, sometimes the style of clothes can be praised by others, and it can have that value of appraisal, of recognition from others, no, and these sensations come to us and it affects us. The immediate family, when a member dies, part of us dies too. Probably we say that, we lost something because we have also invested material things to that person, and most of all, time, no. Home, this is our earliest nest of our selfhood, and we invest the things that we bring from the outside, we bring to our home. It's slowly a building block of the material self. Now, we have an identification of the self to the things started in our infancy stage. So if we're asking, when did this identification of material things to ourselves, started with our infancy, when we made a distinction among self and the environment, when we first recognized that we are different from the surroundings around us and others who may desire our possession. As we grow older, putting importance to material possession decreases. Now, this is a truth and the realization. I don't, there are also people who this is not true, but most of the people um, put less importance to material things, no, as we grow older. But some material possessions gains higher value, no, in our lifetime, like antiques, no, they become they increase in their value as they get older. If we use material possession to find happiness, associate these things with significant events, accomplishments, and people in our lives, no, sentimental value is also value. That's why antiques are also um, uh, expensive. Why? Because antiques or artifacts have their sentimental value from the whole culture that produced it. And other than that, these uh, artifacts are they are history themselves. They are part of the history of a certain community or a certain place. That's why the value increases as it's an older and well preserved artifact. Okay, now our next question would be, why did we need, no, these material things? Why did we need these material things, and what is in our psychology that needed it, no? So according to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, actually there is a hierarchy of the needs that a person should acquire, so that psychologically he develops into a being which has which is well balance, no, in his psyche, in his self, no. The most basic, we have the physiological needs. Now, before we go to the most basic, we discuss first what is the hierarchy of needs. First, it is a motivational theory, meaning it is a theory that explains motivation, no. Why are people motivated to do things, what motivates people to behave like this or like that, or to seek a thing or not, or to give value to a thing or not. So this is a theory that explains the motivations of people. So Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a motivational theory comprising a five-tier model of human needs. So according to Abraham Maslow, there are five levels of the needs of human beings. It's often depicted as a hierarchical levels within a pyramid. So it's often depicted like this one. Okay? It's like a pyramid with the base as the foundation of every need on top of it. Okay. So the next one would be that the five levels of the hierarchy are these, no? We have the physiological, the safety, love and belonging, esteem and self-actualization. So lower level basic needs like food, water and safety must be met first before higher needs can be fulfilled. So according to Abraham Maslow, people work and acquire or need something, but needing something has its degrees, no. The basic foundational needs would, and those placed below are the basic most and the foundational needs of a person. The first one would be the physiological needs, everything from food, water, shelter and safe security, your health, your employment and such. Few people are believed to reach the highest level of self-actualization, but we can all have moments of peak experiences. So as we go up, our needs become more abstract. If you can see here, the third tier is love and belonging. It's already on relationships. And then, after that, uh, at the top of love and belonging, there is a need now for self-esteem. So after acquiring love and belonging from friendship and family, self-esteem now is on top, wherein all of uh, the confidence, the achievements, the respect of others, these are all elements that help your self-esteem. And at the very top, you have self-actualization, your creativity, your spontaneity, the acceptance of everybody, experience, purpose, meaning, and inner potential. These are the things that we also need as human beings, no. um, the order of the levels is not completely fixed, no. For some, esteem outweighs love, no. There are people who says that, well, love and belonging is not that important, but self-esteem is more important, while others may self-actualize despite poverty, like heroes, no. Like those people who have nothing, but they still experience no high levels of morality, creativity, spontaneity, and meaningfulness in their lives. Our behaviors are usually motivated by multiple needs. Okay, so just a little wrap up with the pyramid. At the very base of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have breathing, food, water, the most basic needs of the body itself. The second would be the safety and security also of the body, but this is now this the safety and security now is focused on the space around the body. And the third one would be love and belonging. This is now the start of the social needs, or the belongingness of a person to his or her own group, no. And at top of love and belonging, we have self-esteem. This is now um, related to the self and all regarding your confidence and how you perceive yourself, negative or positive. So according to Maslow, although it's an abstract, although it talks about yourself as a concept, it's still a need. And if you don't achieve that, if you don't have that, it actually, yourself actually has a yearning for it. no? And then at the top you have self-actualization, where your creativity, your spontaneity, the meaning of your life become radiant, no? This is the level of self-actualization. Now, we go to the uh, next in line. So we'll try to understand what is the material self. Previously, we have discussed what are needs, no? Why do we need something, no? Now, we will look at excessive need, or what you call materialism. How does materialism relate to our self as a material self? First of all, materialism is defined as a personal attitude. This is an attitude which attaches importance to the acquisition and consumption of material goods. So, acquisition, the buying, no, and the consumption of material goods. This is materialism. So, people who are or engulfed in materialism are branded as materialistic, no? This describes a person or a society that tends to have a negative or critical implication, no? When we say a person is materialistic, sometimes we have negative thoughts, no? We imply that this person cannot live without buying, if not excessively, but buying something and spending money, no? It's also known as acquisitiveness. This is an attitude that is associated with a value system which regards social status as being determined by affluence or having everything, no? This is the problem when you ascribe or you associate your social status with having a lot of things. This now becomes a problem, as well as the belief that possessions can provide happiness. This is the reason for materialism, no? This is the negative attitude. Now, so materialism can be looked at as a personality trait. So it can, because it is an attitude, it can be looked at as a personality trait and value, or your ano bang pinahahalagahan ng isang tao. Minsan, kapag ang isang tao ay materialistiko, napakahalaga sa kanya ang mga bagay na binibili niya. Bakit? Kasi ito'y nagbibigay sa kanya ng seguridad at para sa kanya nabibigyan siya ng mas mataas na estado kaysa sa iba kapag siya ay nakakabili ng mga bagay-bagay. So, materialism as a value bilang isang pagpapahalaga puts emphasis on acquiring material possessions. Ito yung central life goal, no, ng mga materialistic person o ng tinatawag na materialism, with the belief that possessions are the key to happiness and that success can be judged by a person's material wealth and the price of material goods one can buy. So, according to Russell Beck, he conceptualized three original personality traits as measures of materialism. So, if a person has these three traits, it is very possible that that person is suffering from materialism, no? Which we should be cautious with. Okay, number one, if you feel that you are non-generous, or if you feel that sharing is a burden to you, I think you have a materialistic attitude. Number two, if every time there's people better than you, you envy them, and most importantly, it's not just envy about their social status. If you envy their material possessions, which you don't have, it is a sign of materialism. And number three, possessiveness. If the concern for loss of one's possession and greater control of ownership, if it affects you very much, no, that is already irrational, no? If a material thing, no, affects you very much, that it seems already that it's very irrational, that you're very attached to that thing, no? One's possession and greater control of ownership, it's possessiveness, that you can go to lengths to strike another person just because you have lost something that is of value to you. So, let us understand the self and material possession. What's happening, no? What is happening between the self and material possessions. There are three facets of materialism, of materialistic individuals. These are facets means interfaces, no? Facets means parts, no, components. Number one, there's a tendency to judge one's own success and that of others in terms of quantity and quality of possessions. If you see a person, if or you feel that you're becoming one of this one, it seems that you already are having one of the facets of materialism. The second one is placing possessions and their acquisitions in the center of your lives. If at the very least you consider having a certain thing as the foremost purpose of your life, it's one of having a materialistic attitude. Another is possessions are viewed to provide the greatest source of happiness, no? Satisfaction, dissatisfaction, and well-being. So, these are the reactions of a person, no, who has materialism. These are the reactions, and these are how they perceive material things. So again, this is how they perceive material things. And if this how you perceive material things, it's very unlikely that you have materialism or you are now materialistic. So materialists view themselves and others as successful to the extent that they can own products, objects that project these three images, no? If a materialistic person has those things, no, or if they can acquire those things, they view themselves as successful. How about you, the one watching, no, the one listening? Are you like this? Could you examine yourself and think about if it's your personality already? The value of possessions stems from partly their ability to project a desired self-image and identity. So the value is not really on, sometimes the value is not monetary value. It's the desired self-image. If it's the poorest, no, if it's the cheapest thing, no, that can be bought, but you as a person, you have that thing, you feel something, no, and you can fight for that thing, because if you have that thing, you know that your self-image improves, your identity improves in the face of others. I think you have that materialistic tendency. That's what also happens when people choose brands, no? Because the money isn't anymore the value. What's the value here is what the image that you could achieve, no, when you have that thing. Okay? So, the positive and negative impacts of materialism on society. I know, we already know what would happen, no? This may cause workers to elevate their work and enhance products. This will be one of the positive impacts to society. Sometimes because we know that material things are important, we increase how we do or make things. But if the goals are not met, sometimes if uh, we do not meet, no, our goals and those things, we plunge into excessive personal debt. Sometimes people would really splurge on shopping and not think anymore of tomorrow just to have material possession. It will increase bankruptcy in people if we just let this attitude go, no? Increase also in property crimes because of the envy, no? Because of sometimes of the greed of people. So buying more stuff is one aspect of compulsive buying. So, can you check yourselves? Do you have this trait already? Compulsive buying. The impulse to buy and buy, no? Which is associated with depression. Sometimes, you become depressed or you are depressed when you have compulsive buying, no? Anxiety and broken relationships. These are related, no? Um, if you feel that you are now buying compulsively or without control, I think you should check, no, your mental well-being. So it's disruptive to society and almost at the most destructive to the self. As one becomes less materialistic, as what Socrates uh, have told us at the first part, no, at the first parts of this slideshow, our well-being arises. So, is it are material things not good? It's not that it's not good, it's how we look at it. Why? Because we are part of a consumer culture. We are also consumers, right? We consume things. It's not always that it is negative. However, it is how we look at it. Now, we go to the topic of consumption because um, consumption is also part of the material things that we need. No, consumption plays a pivotal role in our daily life. We consume food, we consume information, we consume a lot of things. Okay, we consume things in ways that are consistent with our sense of self, thus forming our consumer identity. When we create a pattern in our consumption, we begin to have what we call the consumer identity. When this becomes consistent, you become now a consumer with an identity. What's an identity? It's what sets you apart from other consumers. So when you become consistent, say for example, of buying every day bottle of Coca-Cola, it becomes now your consumer identity. No? Consumer identity is the consumption pattern through which consumers describe themselves. So there will be consumers who will say, I'm not that buying that one because that one is cheap. Sometimes there are consumers will say, I'm buying this one because this is cheap. So it becomes a pattern every day. It's now your consumer identity. So however, we have what we call a consumerist culture. In a consumerist culture, people no longer consume goods and services merely for functional satisfaction. Sometimes, this consumer identity of us, no, creates something in us, no, that what we buy is not necessarily just for our utilization. Hindi lang mahalaga na bumibili tayo kasi para meron tayong i-consume. Kundi mahalaga na rin na bumibili tayo hindi lang para sa function ng bagay na yan, kundi para na din sa ating identidad, no? Bumibili tayo ng chinsansu kahit alam nating hindi naman talaga yan effective sa skin or whatever. Example lang ito. Just an example to illustrate an example. It's not harming the brand of whoever that is. Bumibili tayo nito kahit na hindi ito effective, pero bumibili tayo kasi nakakreate na tayo ng identity na kapag si Maria, ang talagang ginagamit ni Maria ay chinsansu. So everybody knows that Maria uses that one. Or Pedro would really wouldn't buy an Android, he will just buy an iPhone. And if it's not an iPhone, it's not Pedro. It's like that, no? So it's the culture, the consumerist culture. It is the example of a consumerist culture, no? The things that we consume are not only limited to its function. We don't consume because we need its function. So consumers use brands and products to express now. So what we consume expresses now our identities. Sometimes it happens, no? In a consumer culture, in a consumerist culture, it's not anymore the function, but it's already your identity, the formation, no? Because of the impression that what one consumes define who he is. Consciously or unconsciously, consumers make decisions about their purchases based on their identity. Who do you think is the identity that you need to show to others? No? Sometimes this blurs your perception on the functionality of that item that you're buying. So this now becomes your consumer identity, which to project or communicate to others. Consumption, again, let's define it. Hug and Mitchell defines it that the search and the choice, acquisition, possession, and the disposal of goods and services. At basic, that is consumption. Now, let's have explanations on why is consumerist culture like this? What is the relationship between consumption and identity? What happens, no? And why is like that? So, Veblen, according to Veblen, it's trickle down effect. So he explains that people of lower status envy. So basically, identity and consumption is related to envy, no? Envy, consumption is related to envy. We emulate, or people with lower status envy and emulate those of higher level socioeconomic status. It's because of status, the envy of status. Wealthier people and those of higher status change their consumption habits in order to remain distinguished and popular. So there's a two-way effect, no, of the trickle down effect. The people on the lower status, they envy the rich. That's why they emulate or they imitate what the rich does to make them look rich. And those wealthier people who look at people and notice that the people below them are now having this, imitating them, they become now concerned that they don't have that identity anymore. Therefore, they change their consumption habits. So that's how the trickle-down effect explanation by Wellblend suggests regarding our consumption and the relationship to identity. So therefore, when we consume something and what culture we have as a consumer, it's depending upon our social status. According to the demand theory, on the other hand, consumers choose products which provide maximum utility for disposable income that they have, where utility becomes a satisfaction or pleasure derived from consumer goods. Sometimes there are at the most basic, consumption is just buying at your at the most capable, no, at your most capable capability, no, your most capable ability to buy. That's just it. Demand theory. So we choose products which will provide us with maximum utility, no, for the disposable income that we have. However, well, we know that in a consumerist culture, this is not just the end of things. This is economic perspective. So Jean Paul Sartre adds, no, that possessions are important to knowing who one is, at it and provides a sense of being. Jean Paul Sartre is an existentialist. So when you say existentialists, these are people that or these are thinkers that think that people should lead meaningful lives according to what they deem what meaningful is. No, it's not the dictation of God, it's not the dictation of society, it's not for societal change, it's not for whatever purpose, but according to yourselves. So for the existentialist Jean Paul Sartre, he says possessions are important to knowing who one is. Therefore, it's centered on identity. So it goes against the demand theory that we buy something because it's the only thing that we can buy. No? Sometimes, because of this knowing who is thing, um, the watch becomes any more than a watch. No? It's a Rolex. No? But it has that meaning of status. Therefore, if we have a Rolex, according to Sartre, this is an example, for instance, if we have a Rolex, it is now part of our sense of being. If a person has a Rolex, no, it's part of his being. It can elevate or whatever his status is. No, in societies where there is so much choice and relative wealth, shopping and consumption have become major leisure activities. So this have now transformed the demand theory. So in our societies right now that we have relative wealth, or some societies that has relative wealth, consumption is not just anymore for use or for function, but it's for leisure. So consumption and identity help to explain the importance people attribute to their possessions. So now we understand that a possession doesn't really have much value. The value of a of a material thing does not really change. economically. However, the importance that we put in it as people, as part of our identity, it changes the value. No? Like example, the loss of possession is also linked to the identity or lessening of the self. No? Because we have invested in it, right? This is now the importance of the concept of extended self, where one's possessions are a major contributor and a reflection of one's identity. So, if we talk about consumption, we talk about identity, we're talking also about the extended self. No? When we talk about the material self, the materials that we possess, they are all part of our, they all contribute to how we reflect on our identity. How? Because identity can be transformed through consumption right now. One is plastic surgery. No, through the consumption of the service of having a plastic surgery, no, your identity can be transformed literally and figuratively. Okay? Um, That's why in the teenage years, like the years that you're very gullible, madali kayong madala sa kung ano-ano mang mga advertisement. Ito'y ang transition period nyo. Napaka-importante na malaman nating identity can be transformed through food consumption and etc. So, identity now can be transformed in these days through having this be part of you. No? Like vegans, no, their identity is their food, no? Organic eaters, dieters, their identity is their food. So the endless pursuit of wealth in order to satisfy people's material cravings is affecting relationships and sense of identity. This is now we're going to negative or positive parts. No, um, one one theory in consumer society by Jean Baudrillard says that commodities, media, and technologies provide a universe of illusion. This is the most, if I say, criminal of criminals in the transformation of consumer goods and its relationship to identity and its negative impacts to relationships and also identity and well-being. So, media and technologies provide a universe of illusion and fantasy in which individuals become empowered by consumer values. What are consumer values? The values that you attach, no? The values, how you value your identity in terms of the things that you consume. Media ideologies, and technologies like computer which provide world's cyberspace. So, according to Jean Baudrillard, consumption rather than production, that is the driver of society. It's not now production. It's that needs are constructed rather than innate. What do we mean by needs are constructed? Needs are made. Demand is made. Like example, when a company or a company needs to sell a product, how do they sell a product? They create the need to sell that product even if that product is not needed. Like for example, you sell a pen. There are many pens. The challenge now for the businessman is to how to sell this pen even if there are many pens out there. So, we construct the need for this pen. How do you do that? Advertisement. We need this pen because this pen is better than this, or without this pen your identity, your social status is not that big. With this pen you will be perceived as a person who has everything in the world. So that's also that's a central idea in a consumerist society. So the entire society is organized around consumption. According to Baudrillard, the entire society, when there is consumerism, the entire society is organized around consumption. No, how the people spend. It's not how the people or how many people produces, and display of commodities through which individuals gain prestige, identity, and social standing. So, reification. This is the process whereby human beings become dominated by the value of things. So, for Jean Baudrillard, this is now the negative impact. There is now a process where human beings become dominated by the value of things. Why? Every businessman in a society create the need even if there is no need. So, with the bombardment of advertisements, of bombardment of needs that is shoved to your face, you have now uh, uh, dominated. You are now reificated, no? So, there are four processes by which an object obtains value according to Baudrillard. Number one is functional value of an object. Okay, this is the value where it's the original value of that object according to how it is made and what it is made for. Second is the exchange value of an object. It's the economic value. It's the price, no, that you pay because you need that thing. It's also the price of the cost of production. Okay, it relates, no. It's the exchange value of that object. Sometimes there are instances where the exchange value is not just on the production cost. Sometimes there's also the sentiment, no? Which brings us to the next one, the next process of obtaining value for an object, the symbolic value of an object, no? What is assigned to the object, i.e. ring or love, for the symbolic value, love, no? The ring may be a couple of thousand pesos or couple of hundred pesos, but the object and the symbol that it represents raises its value according to people who perceive it. Did you get it? No? It depends upon how much symbolic value one ascribes or associate to that uh, object. So the fourth one is the sign value of an object. This is now beyond intimacy, no? Or beyond the personal interpretations. This is now beyond personal interpretations. So it's value within a system of objects, no? I.e. special pen. For example, a pen among pens, there are many pens sometimes, but one brand. However, there is a pen there, the same brand, but it is now because it is a special pen, because it's the pen that was used by the former president, it now has its right not to be put in the museum and to have much value than the president himself. That's the sign value of an object. It's now not just now a symbolic personal interpretation of a value, but it transcends. Okay? It transcends now. So, okay. So those things, according to Baudrillard, are the processes by which value is given to an object. Now, these are the things that are exploited by consumerist producers or the producers of goods which are intended for consumption of the masses. Okay? So, you have to be very careful with that one. Our consumerist culture is very much dangerous, and it preys upon the weakness of the self that ascribes value to things. So in summary, we discussed the psychology of the material self. We also analyzed the material self in terms of materialism. We explained the roles of material possessions to our identity. We expounded on consumer culture, self, and identity. So, I would just like to add that we have to be very careful with how we ascribe value to things. It's not bad, most especially if we think that the things that we have really really has value in them, in terms of memories, uh, um, in terms of its sentimental value and historic value. However, being so much engrossed and destroying yourself, no, because you don't have that or you must have that thing, is very much not good. So, what's the lesson here? We need to be acquainted with what consumer society is, what materialism is, what how identity is shaped by these things, so that we can guard ourselves. Okay? So, for that, I end the lecture, and I hope you learned something. And good luck. See you next lesson.